In this week's Parashat Ekev, Moshe Rabbeinu gives us some deep insights, some deep lessons into life. This is the book of Devarim. It's at the very end of Moshe Rabbeinu's life, and he's giving us some insights how we can make it as a people, how we can be successful, and warning us from the pitfalls that can happen when we enter the land of Israel. So I read a beautiful Dvar Torah from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, where he really goes through the very beginning discussion that Moshe Rabbeinu has about food. And there's a nice contrast happening in the Psukim. So this is Perik Het Pasuk Vav. So it says over there, it comes along Moshe Rabbeinu, he tells us, when we get to the land of Israel, V'shamarta et mitzvot Adonai Elohecha lelecha b'drachav v'iraoto. We have to keep the mitzvot. Walk in Hashem's path. Fear Hashem. Have awe of Hashem. Why? Because Hashem is going to bring us El Eretz Tova, Eretz Nahalei Mayim, Ayinot U'Tohomot Yotzimi Bikal Bahar, a land flowing with water, beautiful streams of water. Eretz Chita U'Seorah, the famous pasuk, V'Gefen U'Te'ena V'Rimon, Eretz Zeit Shemen U'Dvash, the land flowing with milk and honey. What a beautiful land, Eretz Yisrael. And we're going to have bread, he says. Lo tichsar kol ba. You're going to be lacking nothing. We're really going to have very good stuff. Ve'achalta ve'savata uberachta, and we're going to eat, we're going to be satiated, we're going to be full. Uberachta Adonai Elohecha, we're going to bless God. Ala aretz tova asher natan lach, in the beautiful land Hashem is going to give us. But then he gives us a warning. Hishamer lecha pen tishkach Adonai Elohecha, be careful, be forewarned, watch out, don't forget God. Levilti shemor mitzvot mitzvotav mishpatav, you're not going to keep his Torah, his mitzvot, his mishpatim, the chukim, because what's going to happen? Pen tochal v'savata ubatim tovim tivneh v'yashavta. Because what's going to happen? You're going to eat, you're going to be full, and you're going to build beautiful homes, and you're going to have uvekarcha v'tzonacha. You're going to have a lot of cattle and animals and meat and kesev and zahav. We're going to have gold. We're going to have silver. We're going to have everything. V'ram levavecha. We're going to get haughty. We're going to forget Hashem that took us out of Egypt, Mibeit Avadim, from slavery, who took us through this midbar where there were the snakes and the scorpions and there was no water. And Hashem gave us water, He gave us bread, He gave us everything that we needed. But we're going to say, no, it wasn't God. We're going to say, it was me. I did it. And he says, he says, don't forget God, because He does everything. He gives us koach to do everything that we do. And if it wasn't for the brit that He had with our forefathers, we wouldn't be where we are today. Okay, so says Rabbi Sachs, that's the Psukim. Says Rabbi Sachs, notice that there's a parallel and a contrast in this section. The very beginning speaks about eating, and the very end speaks about eating. The beginning eating, though, is v'achalta v'savata uberachta. We're going to eat, we're going to be full, life is going to be awesome, it's going to be great, and we're going to bless God. And Moshe says, don't forget about Hashem. The second part goes, we're going to eat, we're going to be full, but we're going to get haughty, and we're going to forget about Hashem. And so at the beginning is talking about trying to remember, the end is talking about how we're going to forget. Moshe Rabbeinu knows well we're going to have good times. And this is where Sachs says beautifully. Through life, we're going to have good times, we're going to have bad times, there are going to be times we're going to be successful, times when things are going to go down. He says, you think that up until now, life's been so hard for the Jews, we were slaves in Egypt, we had to go through the desert, it was so difficult, so you think that was what was hard? He says, no. You're going to have a much bigger test when you get to the land of Israel. That's going to be the test of having everything. You're going to have success. And he says you're going to have a bracha. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be successful. And B'ezrat Hashem, we should enjoy it. We should love it. But we have to remember, because when you're successful, what can happen? We're going to get so full of what we're having, or as it says over here, V'ram levavecha, we're going to become so into ourselves, we're going to become so haughty, we're going to forget about everything and think that it's us, and that's the path to destruction. And he explains that if you look throughout societies, you can have all these different civilizations that came out there. The Greeks, he talks about the Italians. He says that all of them, what was great about them, the Romans, they come out, and when they're successful, however they're successful, they were united, they were together, they knew who they were, they knew what they were all about. But then you get successful, and you get the gold, you get the silver, you have the Eretz Chita, Sarah, you have everything that you need. And now you start to get lazy, you start to get greedy, you start to just basically get into the gashmut and the material to the point that you forget who you are, you forget what your values are. He says you might be civilized, he says you might become overly sophisticated, as he writes, but you just get into yourself so much, you forget where it all came about. And then some other nation's going to come along, and that nation's going to be a lot more united, they're going to know what their values are, and they might not be as civilized, sophisticated, and as rich, but they know what they believe in, and they're going to win, and they're going to conquer. He says that's what happens in the world, that's the way of life, and it's been the way of life, and he really goes through case by case of of different civilizations, and that's how things fell. But what's different about Judaism? What's the advice that Moshe Rabbeinu gives us? And if we listen to it, it's going to work. If we don't, Hashem Yishmor. But what's the advice that he's giving? We're going to have success. And that's going to be an even bigger test. You thought slavery was hard? Try freedom. You thought the desert was hard? Try living in a very successful country. That's where it gets difficult, because now what are you going to do? So the solution is to remember. Remember where we came from. Remember Hashem. Remember that we were slaves. Remember all the miracles that Hashem did. Because if you forget, you're going to think that it's you. You have to remember that it's not you. There's somebody greater out there. There's Hashem who loves us. Abinu Shabbat wants to be there for us. If you're awake and you're conscious of this, we'll keep the success going. So I want to give everybody a beracha. We should have the success. We should have those good times in life. But we have to remember the words of Moshe Rabbeinu. We're going to eat. We're going to be full. We're going to enjoy. But uberachta, we have to remember Hashem. Lo tishkach. We can't forget all that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for us. Shabbat Shalom.